Hello, fellow travelers. How are y'all doing today? I am just giggling at myself trying to get a video and tongue twisting away at what I'm trying to say. It's very funny when you can talk and you've got everything to say and then poof, it disappears the second you get on front of a camera. I wanted to take a minute to just talk about how our emotions control us when we're not aware of them. Kind of like I'm giggling right now, and which is nice instead of getting mad at myself and frustrated for not being able to do a video. It's just funny. It really is, and what a gift to be able to laugh at myself because I wasn't always able to laugh at myself. Um, the majority of my life, I've not been able to laugh at myself, and it's just really in the last couple of years of doing a lot of this intense inner work that I've been able to do that. And now I do it a lot because there are a lot of things to laugh about inside here. Um, but most of us are walking around on a day to day basis and have no idea why we are acting and reacting to things the way that we do. And we're really running on autopilot and we have no idea of how that works. You can look at it. Most of us have been driving down the highway and you're thinking about something or listening to music or something, and all of a sudden you realize you don't remember what just happened for the last minute or two of driving. Truly, we go on autopilot. Our emotions do the same things. A lot of times we react to things because of past actions that have happened to us. The best example that I have, and I've talked a little bit about this, but I've had anger issues most of my life, really, really big anger issues. And what happened to me when I was a child, I lived in a dangerous neighborhood, where I was picked on and bullied by kids that were older than me, and I learned somewhere in that experience that if I became the raging, crazy, angry kid and attacked, swinging and screaming and fighting. I always use the example of the kid from the Christmas story where he finally turns on the bully and he's cussing father, mother, mother, father, mother, and his mom comes and pulls him off of him. But I became that kid, and it protected me. I was able to stand up to bullies and fight them when I didn't have the strength to do it, and I was too afraid otherwise to deal with stuff like that. And then it became a protection and a power method later on in life I tried to play football. I played football for a whole year till I snapped my collarbone, but I would have to get really angry to go out there and go tackle and hit people because that's really just not my constitution. And it took that for me to get over um, the fear of being hurt, the fear of being painful. And what an amazing power that was. In so many ways, I mean, we could call it a superpower. As a kid that was walking around scared, and I was scared of all of these bullies. Um, and then I started standing up to them, and it worked. And they stopped bullying me because you knew if you came out and you started bullying me and tried to pick on me, we were going to get into a fight. And I lost a lot of those fights. I got beat up, but I stood up to them. And we all know bullies don't want to fight. They want to bully you. And so I developed this ability to get mad and harness that mad, angry Tom to overcome stuff. The problem as I got older and older, that anger would come out when it wasn't needed. It became a subconscious reaction to fear for me. And when I would feel even a little bit threatened, in relationships with girls, that they would start to do something that would, attack me, cut me down, tell me I was wrong, that the anger would come up as a reaction. And I would overreact and get angry at stuff that you don't need to get angry about. That's completely unnecessary. And it became an issue that, that rage would come out when it didn't need to be there. And I certainly didn't want it to be there. And I didn't want to be this person that walked around angry all the time. And I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know. I didn't know why I was angry all the time. And I had to dig in. People call it shadow work, inner child work. IFS calls it parts work, but I really had to come down and realize that there was this little kid that had learned this amazing, amazing, powerful way to protect himself when he was young, and and through my life as I grew up, I developed that in many ways, and it was an amazing protection mechanism, and when I started to see that anger was it was not necessarily a bad thing to begin with, but it had become a bad thing. Then I could start to work with and see it when I would get angry at something and be like, hey, wait a minute, guys, is this necessary? Do we really need to get angry here? Are we really truly threatened? And say, okay, I'm feeling a little scared here. Am I really that threatened by this? And fortunately, I've got a wife that somehow deals with all of my stuff, and I'm able to talk with her. And for me, that's where it started. Being able to be vulnerable and say, "Look, I'm afraid. I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling attacked right here, and I don't want to go out of control because that's what I'm about to do here." Um, but it took me recognizing it, and it took me digging into it, and really making friends with it, and realizing that it was a good and powerful protection mechanism that I had developed that had gotten out of control. And we do that in life. We do that in so many places in our lives. That's where phobias come from. And when you talk with therapy, it's trying to dig down to where did this come from? What happened in your life? Usually your childhood, and usually your young childhood, that caused you to be so afraid of whatever it is. Spiders is a good one. My wife is horrified of spiders. Now, I don't try to do therapy on her because that is a bad idea. But a teeny tiny little spider that's not going to hurt anything will horrify her. And somewhere in her life, a spider scared her. Probably a very large, very scary. Maybe she was bit. Who knows? But that starts to be built up slowly. Those things don't start off usually as being a fear of a tiny little spider that can't hurt you. But when you're walking around and you're not aware of that stuff, you're allowing emotions and actions, situations from your past to control you, and you're truly running on autopilot at that point. And the only way to start to get through and deal with that is learning to dig down and number one, recognize when it's happening, and then start to think and figure out where did that come from, why is that happening, and um, that's one of the questions here is where are we running on autopilot? Where are you running on autopilot? Where are you having reactions that might be out of proportion to the situation? Where are the actions that control you on a day-to-day basis? Are you walking around scared of stuff all the time? Do you automatically back down when somebody is being forceful? Do you automatically get anger and fight in situations that don't need to do that? That is a big part of learning to take control of your life and take control of your emotions when you can start to do that. And the place to start doing that is by questioning everything. Why am I doing this? Why am I feeling this way? Do I need to feel this way in this situation? Do I want to feel this way in this situation? And is it warranted in this situation? And if not, then it might be time to start looking at why you're doing that, and possibly doing some work. And there's lots of ways. Like I said, was it Young? I think calls it shadow work. Other people call it inner child work, parts work with your internal family systems. There's lots of ways to look and find what part of you is reacting to something and controlling you now that you don't necessarily need to be controlled by that. So that is my question for the day, to start to think about what's controlling you that you are not aware of right now that you could become aware of, and hopefully could make your life a whole lot better if you didn't let it control you. So maybe that hits with somebody, maybe not. Hope you guys are doing great today. Hope life is treating you well, and keep on traveling, folks. We'll talk to you soon.